The movie kicks off with a terrifying scene featuring a man named Jake. He is tied to a chair, handcuffed, with a heavy iron chain wrapped tightly around his neck. Jake looks like he's trapped in an abandoned facility, his face showing clear signs of torture and pure terror. Suddenly, a figure wearing a creepy, strange mask appears. The masked man tells Jake that he has won the competition. But there is one final round left. He must choose one of the three boxes in front of him. Shaking with fear, Jake picks a box. Inside, he finds a hunting rifle. Jake breaks down, begging the masked man for mercy and pleading to be let go. But the masked man simply thanks him for completing the game. Suddenly, the rifle triggers automatically, firing a bullet straight into Jake's head, killing him instantly.
Next, we are introduced to a group of 4 friends traveling together: Matthew, Anita, James, and Melissa. They are spending their vacation at James's uncle's house, a place where the uncle committed suicide some time ago. They are there to celebrate their friend Anita's birthday. That night, while they are hanging out and playing games, they hear aggressive banging on the door. Everyone is terrified, thinking it might be a bear, but James decides to seize the moment to pull a prank and scare his friends. Anita gets annoyed and insists they call the police, but James mocks her, dismissing the issue, and decides to go outside to investigate the noise. Melissa tries to jump scare him as payback, but James finds something else in the garden: a video camcorder with a tape inside.
Anita is upset that he took the camera and wants to watch the tape. James snaps, insulting her by calling her boring and cruelly telling her that her mother's terminal illness isn't their fault and shouldn't ruin their vibe. Anita breaks down and smashes the videotape. James kicks her out of the house. Anita goes up to her room and Matthew follows to comfort her. She tells him she isn't selfish, she just came to blow off some steam because of her dying mom. Matthew reassures her that she is the kindest person he knows. While Matthew is cleaning up the house, he notices the camera is recording on its own and finds the front door wide open. He checks on the girls and finds them unconscious, as if drugged. He searches for James, but suddenly a stranger appears and injects Matthew with a sedative. Matthew tries to fight and escape, but he collapses on the floor, blacking out.
Matthew and his friends wake up in a strange place. It's the same slaughterhouse where Jake was killed. Anita wakes up terrified, not knowing where she is, and wakes the others. Suddenly, the lights turn on. They discover the nightmare. They are all chained by their necks, and the masked man is standing there, filming them. He leaves and locks the door. James has a breakdown, trying frantically to break the chains, but fails. The masked man returns, welcoming Matthew and the crew to the competition. Anita is shocked that he knows their names. He tells them round 1 is very easy and leaves them to prepare. James suspects this is an elaborate prank by his friends, but Anita warns him to calm down, insisting this is real, especially since they were drugged and kidnapped.
The masked man returns to start round 1, rock, paper, scissors. The punishment depends on their choice. Melissa picks paper, so the killer slices the corner of her mouth with a sharp card. Matthew picks rock, so he gets bashed in the head with a rock. James picks scissors, so the killer snips off his finger with scissors. When it's Anita's turn, the killer points a gun at her. She collapses in fear, but the gun is a toy. It's a fake shot. The killer laughs at her terror, announcing the end of round 1.
James is furious, still suspecting his friends are in on it. The killer returns for round 2, the Wheel of Pain. Melissa cries, begging to leave. He tells her he will let them go if each of them confesses their worst sin. Then he will choose one to spin the wheel. James confesses to a hit and run where he killed a girl named Ashley and fled. Anita confesses to creating an adult page online to pay for her mom's treatment. Matthew admits to being a hacker who blackmails people. Finally, Melissa confesses that she couldn't afford to feed the rescue dogs in her shelter, so she sold them to a man who uses them for dog fighting to the death.
The masked man is impressed by Melissa's brutal confession and decides she must spin the wheel of pain. Her punishment is to look into a camera lens and identify countries from photos. She answers the first two correctly but gets the third one wrong. When she tries to view the fourth photo, a long needle shoots out of the lens and pierces her eye. She screams in agony. Next, the killer forces Anita to take an electric drill and drill into Matthew's ear, threatening to kill everyone if she refuses. Anita complies, and Matthew screams in excruciating pain, but luckily the drill malfunctions and breaks. The killer gets furious, blaming Anita, and storms off. The friends are starving. Suddenly, the masked man enters, telling them to stand up. He speaks to mannequins in the room as if they were a studio audience. He starts a new game with a trivia question. Which body part hurts the most when injured? Matthew answers, the head. Melissa answers, the knees. Anita chooses the stomach. James chooses the muscles. James tries to attack the killer, but the chains hold him back. The killer announces Matthew as the winner because his answer was the most common survey response, and declares Melissa the loser. Suddenly, the chains retract, pulling them against the wall. A massive blade passes over them and stops at Melissa. The killer offers a chance for someone to swap places with her, but everyone stays silent out of fear. The machine activates and the blade descends, slicing Melissa's head in half right in front of her friends. The killer then drags her body away. Later, we see the masked man in front of a mirror. He removes his mask, cuts his own face with a razor, and puts the mask back on. He returns to the group with a TV showing a video of a girl being tortured with a saw. He approaches Anita and unmasks. She recognizes him immediately. She also recognizes the girl on TV as Rebecca and the first victim, Jake. It turns out Anita, Jake, and Rebecca all worked on the crew for a famous game show hosted by Barry Miller, The Masked Man. We flash back to the past. Jake and Rebecca convinced Anita to falsely accuse Barry of harassment to get a huge cash settlement, which she needed for her mom. Barry was actually a kind man who even celebrated Anita's birthday with a cake. Rebecca staged a scene when Barry touched Anita's shoulder, and Anita went along with the lie, reporting him to the police. This destroyed Barry's life, turning him into this monster. Back in the present, James tries to suck up to Barry. He tells him he understands and offers to help Barry get revenge on Anita if he lets him go. Barry mocks him, saying the only way out is with a split head. Barry pulls out the severed head of their lawyer and tells Anita she must eat the lawyer's tongue or he will kill Matthew and James. Anita breaks down. James attacks Barry, knocking him down, but Barry electrocutes them all through their chains. They wake up strapped to beds. Barry tells them there is an escape key surgically hidden inside either Matthew or James. Anita must use a knife to cut it out. James begs for his life, offering her money, then accuses her and Matthew of plotting against him. James urges her to kill Matthew. Anita hesitates, approaches Matthew, but then turns to James. She slices open a scar on James's stomach and retrieves the key. James dies. She runs to the door, but the key doesn't work. Barry announces over the speakers that the key was a decoy and the game continues. Matthew breaks free from his restraints, but grabs the knife. He tells Anita the rules say there can be only one winner. He confesses his love for her and decides to sacrifice himself, plunging the knife into his own heart so she can live. Anita wakes up to find herself free. She wanders into Barry's control room, finding archives of his victims and the sharp card used on Melissa. Barry calls her for the final round, the gift selection. Anita confronts him, apologizing for destroying his life to save her mom. She asks if he enjoys killing. He tells her the good Barry is dead. He forces her to pull a string on a gift box. She chooses one, and it reveals a large birthday cake. As Barry sings to her, she stabs him with the hidden card and runs. She makes it outside to fresh air, but suddenly the collar on her neck shocks her. Barry drags her back inside. He ties her to the chair, telling her the world needs a monster like him to serve justice. He grabs her head and slams her face into the cake.
Anita screams as the cake is filled with acid, melting her face and eyes. She dies instantly. The movie ends with Barry sitting next to her corpse, smiling at the camera in victory.